Thanks for tuning in to OPM Live, which is an extension of Ordinary People magazine. I'm so happy that you decided to join us today, taking a few minutes out of your most busy schedule and being with us. I just wanted to say our heart goes out to the families of the victims of the Colorado shooting and those of the shooting at the spas in Atlanta, Georgia. So our heart goes out to them and wishing that everything becomes settled in those areas and in those in all of these unfortunate incidents, so to speak. So, with that being said, we would like to thank our sponsors, Vimashi Enterprise, Southern Eagle Music Group, It's a Raised Vision, and Gemstones and Trinkets. And don't forget to follow us on our Facebook page, OPM Live with Verna V. Nickelberry, and our YouTube page, which is OPM Live with Verna V. Nickelberry. And with that being said, we're going to bring in our guest. We have an awesome guest today. He is an author, speaker, and a consultant. Has a very interesting book that he's going to be sharing with us. As a matter of fact, he has two great books that I actually love. So we're going to bring him in and get to know him a little bit more. Let's bring him in. Hello, Mr. John. How are you?
Hello, very nice to hear from you again.
Yes, yes, and I think you've been on our show since Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah, you were one of my very first shows when I launched the first book. So you have a special place in my heart. Help me get all the jitters out for interviews and all those kinds of things. So I love your work. So this is great for me.
I love your book.
Well,
I
thank
read that first book. I mean, it's quite interesting. So I am sure their next book is just as interesting. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit about yourself, what it is that you do, and you could do that now.
Well, my personal history seems boring and exciting to other people. Like it's. I was an air traffic controller, probably now for 20 plus years, in the Air Force, then a defense contractor overseas in Afghanistan for way too long. And some people get all excited about that, but that's the boring part of my life. Back in 2014, entered some interesting conversations with my wife, and she asked me to author a book. And it is more complex than that, and it's kind of as simple as that too. I used to always say people ask for God to give them a wife, and then when He gives them a wife, and the wife tells them what to do, it's similar to God telling you what to do because you asked God to give you this wife. So when your wife tells you to do something, and so I wrote that first book. She had a young son at the time, 2 years old. I've adopted him, and he's my son. But I wrote Men Raised by Women because I started to encounter a lot of missing elements amongst her and her friends on things they didn't know, didn't see, male perspective they didn't have insight on. And I mean, I know I go deep into these subjects anyway. I know when I get in there with people, I'm going to end up talking about things that are um, maybe more detailed than most people focus on. But this writing it in a book took me to even levels I didn't know I would go into. And so that's when I met you, and you gave me one of my first shots at getting to talk about it, and that thing took off. It became a bestseller for me, and so all of a sudden, the air traffic controller and defense contractor was an author and a speaker, and I began traveling around the country speaking at single moms conferences. Spoke at the one in well, two of them in Oklahoma. There's a big one in Louisiana. Some events here in Atlanta, but not really as big as the things I've done when I've traveled. And so I wanted to do more than just present the issues, which I felt like we did very well in the first book. We really presented it. But honestly, very little of what I said is unknown to the general public. It's more preaching to the choir. Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, that's exactly it, John. Oh, that's yeah. Oh my God, you put your finger on it. You know." And yeah, maybe I put my finger on it the way a doctor does, and they say that does hurt, but that's nothing near what healing is, right? If you just went to the doctor and you just poked it, does that hurt? Yeah, it hurts. Wow, doc, you picked the exact spot it hurts. That's not why we're here, right?
That's
That's not why we're here, which is what most um, writers in this arena do. And historically, just for the background portion of it, when I did the work, I'm a strategic planner. And so applying that in this world, when I did the work, all the books written for single moms raising boys and the impact on boys were written by the moms, a lot of moms that wrote, educators, pastors, counselors, uh, people in social development type circles, psychiatrists, doctors, blah, 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 blah. And somebody asked me once, what makes your book so unique? You're not an expert. You're not an expert. I said, well, to you, I'm not an expert. I said, but what I can tell you is I'm that boy. I said, so, and for the first time, you're going to get to hear from the boy on all the things you've been doing. Not just me, but my friends that were raised in single parent homes. Not just them, but the counselors that informed our work and built statistics from me, but not just them, the pastoral team too that helped me draw this work, but not just them, the psychiatrists too that we had to help pull this body of work to make sure we're not just doing snapshot, because a lot of things can happen in a small percentage, and you can present it and it seems like it's a norm, and it's not. It's just a small component. So I wanted to try and really grab hold of what the real picture was and is. And I felt like we did that. The responses we got from folks indicated that we did, but I still didn't want to be the doctor that just said, hey, does that hurt? Yeah, that's exactly where it hurts. I wanted to be involved with the solutions. So, what was the problem? The problem was in layers, and at the end of the line, not at the beginning where you can say, oh, where there's broken homes, oh, where there's moms that didn't have father figures that struggle to know what directions to shape a man. Oh, well, there's fathers that aren't in the boy's life and it's causing distortion of how he develops. Or there's grandparents. Or at the end of the line, not the beginning. That's the beginning. At the end of the line, what we have are men that lack masculine development. That's what we have. We have men that didn't have a upbringing that cultivated their masculine development. And I'm talking about the noble things of masculine development, not what people view now as toxic masculinity and people fighting and all this thing, but the things that are noble, the character development, the principles development, the clear mindedness, reliability, disciplines, the boring stuff, right? That
yeah.
make men solid, that make them somebody you would be interested in dealing with, partnering in with life. If you're a lady, having as your own father, someone that could be a father. And so reaching into that world was my target. So when I began to travel, it was really interesting. And I can tell you this, I speak at schools and stuff like this too. So I limit what I could share with them about the influence of God in these messages and things like that,
Right.
because they don't have sense enough to receive it. But but that's what. So the reality is, I went to a big church out in Oklahoma, had all my notes. I kind of had all the titles of all the chapters ready to go, and I was like, okay, I'll just kind of hit these multiple topics. And this is a huge stage. There's thousands of women there. I wasn't the keynote though. I was going to be in one of them little rooms or whatever. And so I get there, and God gives me a completely different talk, completely different. I was like, this is weird. I can't do this. These people want to know about my book, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, nope, you're going to go in there. You're going to describe to them the straw man that's distorting their relationship with their son. And so I think I introduced that a little bit with you because it had already fell on me by then. And that's all I was allowed to talk about, the straw man, right? And I was pulled into talking about the straw man so much that I realized that needed to be a book so that that body of information could release me to the next message that was brewing in me, because they're brewing. I mean, they pile up, right? As soon as I publish and finish a book, the other ones pile up right behind it. They're just ready to go. And as soon as that one comes, I already have another book in me called The Post Dated Check. That's for women that date these single men. And after they've grown up, I have a book after that called Rams in the Bush, Raising Another Man's Son, right? For these men that marry and they're in this and they have the toil going on. I'm interviewing people. All that stuff is there. I've got people requesting those books now, but I'm like, I have finished the other one, and but it's brewing. I could deliver it right now. I could go on stage. I could deliver it. It is there. And
Right.
so I'm doing that. And so we finish the single mom, her son, and the straw man. And I put that out, and when I did that, released it from me as my responsibility to give, to get that word out. And so, briefly, what is it? The straw man are the responsibilities that a mom or parent might put on their son that are built for a partner. And those actual responsibilities, and it's only five, but they actually are too heavy for the psyche, the emotional state, the mentality, the development level of a boy. And they distort his growth and they lead him astray. And so those things are in here, and we walked it out. We explained. It was funny. I was skimming through it yesterday, thinking we might do our interview. We had our little mismatch in schedule. Um, and the book is good to me too. I was reading it. I was like, oh, this is good. This is good. And I'm almost amening the content. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. But it resonates because for moms that have asked their sons to co-parent with them, it creates a burden on the boy's heart. For some that have asked their son to be a companion for them, it creates an unnatural tie. That's when I learned and began to introduce the things of emotional incest and the destruction that it does to his ability to have healthy relationships with women as he goes out into the world. The thing of letting your son be the protector, and how that distorts his idea of where he should limit, what boundaries he thinks he should be in, and how it makes him feel as if he has authority in the home and authority over his mother eventually. He'll start making decisions, choices, doing what he wants to do, not accepting any kind of parenting as soon as he knows he's physically beyond you disciplining him. And so he uh, gets a sick version of respect deposited in him. He was ready to fight over respect instead of safety, and ready to defend pride instead of defending, family, or defending somebody's well-being. And so all those different things now, those are fancy ways of saying gang violence, school trouble, those are
Right.
fancy ways, because
Right.
it's a broad audience, right? I have people
Right.
that are very wealthy and established that have their kids with these same dramas. We don't own it in any race. It is across all our spectrums. Everybody's dealing with it. Um, Interestingly enough, working overseas and having international friends, I've had Africans. I've been invited to Africa because they said they have a humongous issue on this topic. And I have friends, well, not even friends, people I met passively in the airport. I test my material. I'll be sitting in the airport
Which
reading
book?
casually. What an interesting book. And people will come up and talk and go, oh my God, this is amazing. And it was happening. A lady in the Dutch Netherlands talked to me and she said they had the same issues. She's a follower of my material now. One of my largest body of sales came out of Japan. Just boom, just all in one day. There's tons of books.
So,
So,
did
mhm.
they have to? Did they? If it came out of Japan, was it translated into? A,
No, no, it's English. It's all English. And now I was stationed in Japan in the '90s, and they do teach English in the schools, so they knew what they were getting a hold of, and so that has been enlightening to me as well. Even though I knew it could happen in other places, I'm a very focused person because I care about the audience I'm talking to,
mm-hmm.
and I don't want to dilute it to be broad so that you just go, "Oh, John, that was great." I would rather you say, "You gave me something I personally needed out of that talk," because I know the realities, right? I told a guy yesterday when he was asking me about content, and I said, "Well, I'm challenged because you guys listen to TD Jakes, Joel Osteen, blah 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 blah. Hey man, I'm an air traffic controller, and if I asked you what was your favorite message from TD Jakes, most people can't even, you just know he's an amazing, speaker, invests so much in you, but most people can't. I can remember the one because of the movie, Woman Thou Art Loosed, and my wife has the book, but which, so imagine John Dennis. You remember what John Dennis wrote? Do you remember? You know what I mean? So I take that as a challenge for me to really go to work creating something that can be deposited with people so that they can work with it. And I try to be honest and say, you're listening to uh, Verna, and she's fantastic. And Verna has John on, and John was impactful. But reality is, is going to have another great guest on next week, and you could forget. And so the books help with that. But then I also understand it's one book, and I have thousands of books. And so to meet that need, this third book is in me, and it's called Man Made, the Recipe for Manhood. And,
Mm.
and so this book is, it is powered on the inside. I wrote it. I finished the whole thing, Vernon. I finished the whole thing, and God said, "Good, now start over." And so I think, and it was really good. And I built this mentorship manual, and I had it all written out. And so I began to see something, and God was saying to me, "Now I want you to make it also a goal setting module." So I began to plug goals in for the young boy. I was like, "Oh, that's outstanding. This is really good. Now he can have goals along the way." Like when I was in scouts, and I do scouts with my son, they have little goals. And he said, "Okay, now I want you to create a journaling experience inside of it too." Okay, so I go back and unplug it. And journaling was easy, right? Because I could just put date and put a bunch of lines, and you got to do the right, you got to do
Yes.
so 5 pages of blank lines, boom, boom, boom. So I'm going. And then he said, "Now I want you to create a podcast that goes with every chapter. And
Wow.
so you are going to walk with them." I was like, "Okay." Okay. So now every chapter, when you go there, and I thought it was going to be one podcast per chapter, it's a podcast a week. And so one chapter will last you a month, and every chapter has usually at least 4 podcasts, and I'm walking with you, and we're talking and working things out and meeting these definitions, and it's built for 3 years so far. It's built to go with you for 3 years,
That's
so that we can walk it out.
So is it like younger boys? Because it's 3 years. I would think it would really suit a teenager while he's in high school, or is it just for males of a certain age?
When I did all my studies, it talked about the influential transition from mom to the desire to have input from males happening usually at about age 11. And so it's meant to meet you anywhere from 11 up. Now, I do know grown men that, I mean, in their 20s that come to me for this material. And that's the odd part, that for me, it's very odd. I always have in mind who I'm going to touch, and I'm always wrong. God, it's always like, no, I ain't watch this, watch this. And that's all fine. That's all fine. I just act like I'm not surprised while I'm freaking out on the inside, like, oh, okay. But so we see it just gripping because the need is there. And I mean, you work with people, you probably see this too. Wherever people get harmed emotionally, they actually stay that age on that issue. They stay right there. So if it bothered you when somebody said your eyes were too far apart when you were 4 years old, and you just get, you know what I mean? When you get 36, you're still bothered. The same pain, the same reaction resets itself. And so to do that work, that's where it grew from. Um, to get there, so after I got the podcast moving, and they're all attached to these chapters, and they all match up, and they're getting there. I stop, and something happened, and I could hear God say, "Now I want you to go learn what emotional intelligence is."
You know what? I just had a class on that like yesterday. And I was like, I need to research this because I have not heard of emotion intelligence.
Yeah,
And but what I do know, there's nothing new under the sun. It might have
correct,
been called something else
correct,
years ago. So
correct.
it's like a whole new thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a newer phrase. I first heard it in relation to President Obama. Somebody had said he has extremely high emotional intelligence. Now, they weren't using the term in the way that, as I've studied it, it's built. But that was the first time I heard the term. And so I start buying all these books on emotional intelligence. I'm reading, okay, and it's super interesting, and it's super boring until I got to some material that red flagged, uh, and it resonated in me for what I have been dealing with. And so I sat down with a buddy, and I started out with the wrong terms, right? I always start out like this. I always say something because I think better while I'm talking. And so I say something, and the people I talk to, I tell them, hey, this isn't it, but it's something like this. And I said, the problem is we keep saying emotional intelligence when the issue has been emotional stupidity. Now, that that's like in the category, but that isn't right. But everybody starts understanding me when I say that. Like people like,
So is that like an attention grabber for you to kind of
yeah. Because I'm kind of good at that. I'm kind of good at, like, let me get their attention. When I said men raised by women, they all sat up. And I know it's a little bit, claws out.
right.
Um, and it's the same thing, emotional stupidity. But I walked it back because that's missing. It's good for attention, but it's not useful for the ministering to the heart. It's just good for the attention part. And so I walked it back, and I said, okay, what's really going on here? And so I have my notes here because this thing built out. And I had these goals of things I wanted to do. And so everything started fleshing out. And so the mentorship part of the manual was built to handle two responsibilities I wanted to have. I wanted to give you instruction and I wanted to create accountability. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's in the mentorship part of the manual, plot the way, go build like that. And so then in the goal setting part of the manual, it has three goals. It was to build life skills, to build what I call man skills, and to build self-sufficiency, right? And see you I see you smiling because it's so
Yeah,
rich in there.
because when I have two boys, I don't have any daughters. No,
Oh yeah.
I only have daughter-in-laws. So I have the two boys. And what I noticed, and you're talking about the strong man, I've seen women do that. I hear women, younger women, call their son their king. It should be your prince. It shouldn't be your king. I see them subconsciously give them
Yeah.
a spouse role,
Yes.
and they shouldn't do that.
Yes.
They give them authority to do things, but then when that man thing, I'm sorry, I didn't get excited. When that man thing that's already in them, because God put it in them, when it
Yes.
start to rise,
Correct.
then they like the boy is out of control.
Correct.
Well, look what you kind of popped the top before time,
Exactly.
so to
Exactly.
speak. And now he really don't know what's going on. But when my boys was, I think I really noticed it with my younger son. My oldest son really laid back, relaxed. He just kind of blossomed like this,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
real easy. My younger son, he always,
Mm-hmm.
his, his man thing showed up in such a. I mean, he just. I noticed it when he was about. It started when he was about 13.
Mm-hmm.
His attitude started to change.
Yes.
He became very aggressive. He
Yes.
became aggressive with me, and we
Yes.
know that was not going to happen. And he would come in and just slam the door to his room. No communication between us.
Yes.
It would be that was the first time he and his brother was separated because
Mm-hmm.
his brother went off to college. But I noticed that 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 aggressiveness, the attitude change, uh, all of that, and it lasts from about 13.
Mm-hmm.
It started to taper off
Mm-hmm.
17, 17, 18. I noticed all of this, and so now I noticed it, and I was able to share it with my cousins and some other women when they said they don't know what's going on with this boy. I said that man thing that's already in them
Yes.
is
Yes.
starting to evolve. It is starting
Yes.
to come out. This is what you should do and what you shouldn't do.
Yes.
First of all, he is not the one that's taking care of the house. Do not tell him he is the man of the house,
That's right. That's right.
because it's only going to make him feel more empowered.
Correct. Correct. He is starting to make him entertain taking on authority. Like, oh,
Yes,
I got some authority here. I can make some of these right. And so you're directly on the point of it, which he had an emotion trigger his decision making. Like,
yes.
I think I can do this because this is how I feel. And
Mhm.
I could actually pump up this emotion too and start giving emotional reactions to see if I can either get my way or see if I can get folks to back off me, or see if I can throw everybody into confusion and I can just enjoy the fact that I don't have to do everything I'm expected to do, or I can push against the boundaries with emotional outbursts, right? Or using
Absolutely,
this. Yeah,
absolutely. I had to tell my son, I am not your friend.
that's right. That's right.
I am not your peer either.
That's
I'm
right.
your mom, and I
Yeah,
will forever and always be older than you. No matter
correct.
how tall you get or how strong you get,
Correct.
man, there's a bat somewhere for real. I
Correct.
will break your knees. I think I told one of them, I will break your knees. But I had to let them know that they will not bully me
Yeah,
in
it's a boundary. You
no
set a
way.
boundary. You set a
Right.
boundary. Like, hey,
But I'm
there's no explosion you can do that I'm gonna back down from. There's none. There's none. There's only one chief here. There's only one. You're not even assistant chief. You're not chief in training. You're chief somewhere else
somewhere else,
in a time far, far away. You know?
far, far away.
That's right. That's right. That's
That's
absolutely it.
good stuff. That's good stuff.
That's absolutely it. And when we're getting to it, right? So I'm in that emotional intelligence world of study and thinking, and I'm bouncing it off people, and I have a bunch of crazy friends, and some fit the model of the stuff that I talk about, and some
Right.
don't. And so I get to like test this stuff out on people, and they know it. It's not like I'm, they know it. I'm like, hey man, does this bother you? Does this? And so what we really come down to is emotional maturity, right? And the fact that your emotions are actually not part of your decision making. That's You don't use emotions to make decisions. Now, that is a feminine attribute, and it is useful for women because women take care of people's feelings. And
Right.
so their sensitivity to feelings is very much an advantage. But women actually know that. They actually
Right.
know, I'm going to try to take care of people's feelings. Boys that cater to their own feelings because of men's natures, we don't care how other people feel. And there are plenty of ladies like that too, but men have a different version of it. It's always very outwardly. It's open to physical, getting physical. It's open to all kinds of stuff. And so that's interrupting all of his development for what we expect from our men. We expect our men to also be able to be rational, to be able to be calm, to be able to make a good decision no matter what their emotional state is. Uh, won't necessarily give women a pass on it, but women encounter more emotions than men do. They do. It's hormonal. It's a real thing,
Right.
and
That's the thing for real.
it's a real thing too. It's not anything to downplay. It is funny to joke about, but in reality, it does actually exist. The hormones trigger body changes. It helps the lady, and it also it causes tough ups and downs. The guy, there's a lot of health to a relationship where one person is balanced out if the other person has to go through that. And so we don't need guys going through that too. You don't need guys who are just completely emotional and they act on those emotions without being able to make decisions.
So,
Uh,
what would cause a man, young man, to be so emotional? Could it be something from childhood? Could it be something like there's not a man? There hasn't been a man in his life, or the mom, or he just picking up from where the mom was always in that state.
well, the causes are all those things you say, right? It's a lot of catering to the emotion when they're little, and I don't mean suppressing people's emotions too, where they can't cry, but you can also train somebody that if you cry, I'll do anything you tell me to do, you know, and so they learn that little manipulative tactic, and that tactic evolves as they get older. If they learn to emotionally manipulate, they'll pass that on to different attitudes. And this is how you start seeing attitude problems when they haven't been taught to manage your attitude. Like, you can manage your attitude. You can actually choose it. Just because you're aggravated doesn't mean you have to behave disrespectfully. You don't slam a door in a house you didn't make a payment on. You just don't.
Right.
You don't. If you want to slam, I'm not saying don't slam doors. I'm saying make a payment. You know, you just, that's all I'm saying. You know, I'm
There
just,
for the people in the back.
yeah. I'm like, hey man, don't slam a door in a house you didn't make. And don't break a glass in a house you don't.
Right.
Yeah, but this is part of the world of folks who haven't done. I mean, maybe it's us, it's me, the people that haven't done the job teaching. Like, hey, what the definition of a man is. And when I
Right.
go to conferences, I would pose that question, and a lot of women would be startled and couldn't answer. And a lot of women gave answers that just catered to their life. So they were really showing me that they used him as their partner, instead of what he needed to become. And so,
But
uh,
it's a lot of work. I mean, uh, I would find it to be just a lot of work because I am thinking that's something your parents should have done.
you know
So
what? You know,
if I got to,
it,
it just seems like a lot of work for a woman.
it is, and it isn't, right? Because you're a parent, I'm a parent. There's no avenue either one of us can tell you to go that it's not a lot of work if you're a parent. I don't actually have one of those. I can tell you the ones that are shaped. Like, this is a direction right here. This is a direction for cultivating people. And
Right.
this is how you got to do. Now, we're going to insert different personalities in there. All my kids have different personalities. So they all bang off the walls different. John Jr. goes way down the end and he bangs off down here. Daniel bangs off in the beginning. This one bangs all the way down, and those boundaries and that guidance still are kind of the same. I think what happens, though, it's like Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, you probably don't understand it all yourself. I
Ooh.
think what happens is a lot of our parents don't understand what they should be shaping their boy into. So they're trying to cater to his feelings, trying to let him enjoy life, don't want him to be their friend, don't want him to. I met a lot of ladies that talked about not wanting their son to hate them when they grow up. Some of them worry about him hating them because they kept him away from their father. Some did it for good reasons because dads are dangerous. Dad's in prison. Dad's going to hunt him down. Some of them did it because he got another girlfriend and now I don't like her and I don't want. And so you have all those things in play. So, because of what you said, that's why I spend all this time to try to leave somebody something simple, right? Something simple, right? And so when I get with men and we discuss it and I put down what I was seeing and it fleshes out. Here's what we're looking for. Here, and this is easy. This is easy. We're looking for self-sufficiency.
Absolutely.
That's what we're looking for, right? I
Absolutely.
tell because that's where my comments come from. You want
Absolutely.
to slam a door, make a payment. You know what I mean? Make a payment over there. This is mine. Or you can make all these payments and I'll leave and you can have this one. You can slam every door. You can slam windows. And so even my own sons, I would tell them, I said, hey, if you want to come in here and argue with me, make sure the same day you have already got your deposit and you've done your lease on your next residence, because you can, because you really
I
can.
love it.
You really can. And I mean it to inform them. And it's also a little bit of a warning, but it's also an expectation. I'm like, hey, if you build yourself up to
That's right.
where you can take care of your own self in all these elements where you feed yourself, you insure yourself, you earn for yourself, you clothe yourself, you educate yourself, you can do all these things for yourself. You can walk out that door at any point, whether me and you are in agreement or disagreement. You can be like, hey man, I don't have to listen to you anymore, I'm my own man. And I actually would have to be like, you know what, you really are. And that becomes the essential element. So
Mhm.
so when I say things like man skills and building life skills, it's stock investments, it's how to read a lease, how to save up money for a deposit, how to go get your air, how to get change the air filter in the
I write a
attic.
check.
Yeah, how to write, how
All
to
of that.
manage it, how to manage your account, how to do all that stuff. I can't say checks anymore. This generation doesn't write checks. I may have to change the book called Post Dated Check, because one young lady, she was like, "What's a check, sir?" I didn't know. I was like, "Oh, you missed the whole meaning." All of us know what a post dated check is. You can't trust that thing. Don't you give me no post dated check. so, That's another challenge I have to figure out.
When
But
you were speaking, I was reflecting on my boys and trying, and I told them, I think my oldest had turned about 15 or 16, and I was sharing with them, I got to get you ready
yes,
for when you leave, so you could be a productive citizen
yes,
in this world. He was
yes,
about, because I think he's about 36 now, and the youngest may be about 32, 30, 33, I think. So I started with the oldest, and I started with showing them how, well, writing checks was dead.
yeah, yeah,
That check, how to go buy stamps, how to shop for yourself, all
yes,
of how to cook, how to clean up, how to what, all of these things, because I wanted them to know you need to know how to do all of these things before you bring somebody else into your life.
absolutely, absolutely.
Because I don't want, if you get married, I don't want your wife to send you back to me because you don't know how to act. You
Right,
need to
right.
know how to do all of this and actually getting them prepared. And because I said to them, you need to be a productive citizen,
Correct, correct.
nothing
Correct.
else.
Nobody else needs to take care of you anymore. After I finish taking care of you, you need to be able to take care of yourself. And
That's
then you need to build yourself up
that's
so that
right.
if you desire a family, you can actually take care of them, you
That's
know.
right.
And
And have pride in taking care of your family.
oh, absolutely.
Have pride in knowing that you are actually the head of the house, not a
Absolutely.
brute, but not a brute, but the one who is going, who at least know how to provide.
Absolutely.
You know, because there's like standards. What is it? Basic instruction before leaving Earth.
Yes. Yes.
That
Yes.
you got to set some standards. So I don't know. Someone mentioned something to me that was like I was maybe doing too much, but I wanted to make sure that their wife don't send them back to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Whatever it is, work.
Yeah.
You know, be a productive citizen and don't be a hinder. Don't mistreat somebody's daughter because
Correct.
you know what I'm saying. I just had
Correct.
to do that.
Correct. So,
Yeah.
so you got it when I'm talking about life skills. And so my projection is sometime starting in next summer, not this summer, next summer, I will begin the man skills camps.
Oh,
And so at the man skills camps, we do regular stuff. We learn domestic household skills, changing light bulbs, hanging ceiling fans, patching a hole in the wall,
cut some
painting
grass.
primer on the wall, painting, changing oil, changing tires, detailing cars. That's my grease monkey camp. A little electrical, like baseline knowledge, staying in deck, staying so that if you met this young man in life and y'all had a loving relationship, he would be equipped with the home care domestic skill set to take care of a home, to take care of the thing. There's just common stuff in a home. I mean, I had one guy tell me he's a barber. He watched from the window as this guy stood there on the phone and his girlfriend changed the tire.
Change the
And
tire.
yeah, it's like 4 to 5 things wrong with that whole thing. You know what I mean? So I was like, but there's a real reality that plenty of guys actually don't know how to. You know, there's a reality
And
to
they're
some.
not asking to learn either.
No, 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 no,
They're
they're
not
not.
asking to
Well,
learn.
well, see now you're over. See, this is the follow on feature when we get to the emotional decision making, and because of the emotions of embarrassment and shame of being behind in their development, they overcompensate with aggressiveness, and
Oh,
so instead of learning to change the tire, when you say, "Man, you don't know how to change a tire," instead of saying, "Shoot, man, teach me," or "Is there a YouTube channel?" I can say, "You trying to test my manhood?" and making an aggressive, physical altercation, make that available, and
absolutely.
get
That's
people to back down. And then I can say, "You're not going to talk to me any kind of way. I'm a grown man." Because this is what's cycling in behind my ears. I'm cycling that somebody's testing my manhood. I'm insecure about my manhood. I now have to prove it. I can prove it with physical, and this is where we get the behavior.
Oh, I see.
This is where we get the behavior from the insecurity. And
Oh,
so
and it goes from 0 to 3 6 quick.
see
Okay.
the problem is it's already pedal to the metal. It's just the wheels are off the ground. He just let it fall to the ground and then try to take off. And so this thing is always burning. It's always insecure. And the more a insecure man is around fully developed masculine men, the more uncomfortable, insecure he is because it might come up, and you can see it. And I used to tell my wife it'd take me about 30 seconds to pinpoint what I call an MRW, right? Man raised by woman. And I mean that with a definition. I mean it with a definition of um, areas that are missing some development. I don't mean it as every single one, but there are a lot of them. But reality is I can pull them out in about 5 minutes. If I'm sorry, 5 seconds. If we're talking, I mean, just part of the greetings, part of the eye contact behaviors, some of the insecurities have signals, and so I mess with it so much that I see the signals, and it's too easy now. It's easier for me because if I really wonder, I can say, I wrote a book called Men Raised by Women. That'll get it right out if I need to.
So do you just like are you like one like using are you like one of those students who their first time in their psych class they just use their psych 101 class on everybody they meet.
Everybody you meet,
They turn their
everybody
head to one side and you know.
everybody you meet. It's like Christianity, right? If you're gonna be a Christian, you can't. If you're a Christian everywhere, it's easier. If I gotta be, you know, if I gotta be this over here and this over here, it's hard. It's easier, and because that this stuff is me. This
Right.
message is me. Like it's churning inside me. I can do it any time of day, any time of night. You can call in the middle of the night. My son got this going on. Oh, you need to work on your life skills. Look at chapter 4. And so
Oh
it's
wow.
it's in me. This is my. I don't have other things. You know what I mean? This is it. And so when we get past that, right, I started looking at the journaling part, right? And so in the journaling, I'm supposed to help you develop your morals, your faith, your principles, and your self reflection, right?
Would that be part of your life lesson camp too? The journaling part?
No, no, this is all in that book. Man made the recipe for man. This is the recipe. These are the
Okay.
ingredients, right? So as you're in this book, you're getting this plugged into your activity. It's plugged in. It's causing you to reflect, and this personal work that you're doing starts giving you buy-in. You're engaged in your own growth. You water in your own seed. You're starting to go, I said I was going to do something. I didn't keep my word. Now I understand why, people say I lie or I don't keep my word or this and that. It's like, we're not saying it. You're saying it to yourself, because self-talk is the primary voice that's driving behavior.
Right. That should be good because what I found as I was dating whatever in a younger age, men don't know how to communicate very
No,
well. They
no.
don't know how to. What I learned and observed is most men do not know how to carry on a conversation.
Now, if
Not too good.
if it's the men from my world and like me, I have always been able to talk. I have never been able to communicate like we do right here because I was so insecure. The best parts of my conversation come from my insecurities or my that's it's the same thing with everybody. When what friend do you have that hasn't told you what deep problem they deal with? That's who the people those are the people you're close to, the stuff that really bothers you. And so you could never get on this side of that wall with me until I healed, until I addressed it, until I and every now and then I would have somebody say something that I needed to hear, but I didn't necessarily try to fix it. I
Mm.
just, I remember my uncle said to me once, and he was trying to give me a hint. He said, I can tell when a young man's lying because he can't look me straight in the eyes. And
Okay.
instead of working on my lying, I start trying to practice looking at people in the eyes and lying, so I wouldn't be so would be so easily. And so that's what we have, right? I was still hiding. And so this is what we have with the young guys. And I do it with guys. The eye contact, two things when you read up on it, it does a lot for people bonding, connection, revealing yourself, taking down defenses. And so when you deal with people who can't make eye contact, there's a lot of things that can be present. But so we got that in motion, right? And so then I start targeting emotional health and giving guidance and correction. And then last of all, the podcast is built to give that consistency, because the moms that give me feedback are kind of like, oh, I didn't do it. It's, oh, I wasn't thinking, oh yeah, I got busy, and the life is busy. Life
Right.
is busy. You got more to do than just get up in the morning and recite a chapter from John Dennis's book. I get it. I get it. So, but I started getting people back. I love your podcast. I can listen to it in the car. It's quiet. Your voice is calm. And the world is. I got to be in the car anyway. I'm stuck in traffic, and I can play it over and over if I need to hit a point. And so that gave me multiple avenues to minister to different elements in the folks development. Some moms are listening to the podcast with their sons. I think that's been the coolest. I think that's the best for the younger sons.
Right.
I think that's the best for them because the discussion part follows up. And I do like the fact, some men tell me it's easier because I can say things to their girlfriend or their ex-wife that he can't say. And I say stuff that he has said, but all of a sudden now she agrees now that I said it. So and that's people, right? That's people.
Right.
We're doing all that. Um, and so you're building against all that. So I come out of this study stuff, and I know I'm bouncing around a little bit. I come out of this steady state, and God starts talking to me about emotional maturity.
Mm.
Oh, okay. And I think I'm smart. I think I'm savvy. Yeah, emotional maturity, blah, blah, blah. He said, let me show you something. And so he shows me, because I have it doesn't come up much, but I was a really good kid. My brother's good. Yeah. All these people I would talk to, prison folks and violence, gangs and street and gangster shooting, I ain't do none of that stuff. I was in church. I got saved at home on my own when I was in the 6th grade. I was watching Jimmy Swagger on TV. He asked me to raise my hand. With nobody at the house with me, I was like, I'm about to get saved. Did it myself. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I was no bad kid. You know what I'm saying? I was a great kid. I know I'm a parent. I can think of it in terms of if I was a great kid. So A student, all the good stuff. So God visited me on that issue too. He said, check this out. The reason you and men like you, these good boys that you raised and all these, are attracting older women is because they think you're more mature.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, okay, I'm listening. And because I know I was immature. I knew I was immature. I know I'm immature. And so, and he said, what happens is because you were moral, you had faith, you had work ethic and values, to an older woman, you look more mature.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's actually true is you are moral, you have faith, and you have ethics, and you're following it, and you are emotionally immature, which means this more advanced woman is going to be able to emotionally manipulate you.
Oh, oh,
And
wow.
I'm sitting there listening. I'm thinking back, and I mean, it's checking off all the checklist people. I'm thinking back in the past time, and so I go out somewhere, and I'm talking to this guy he's a chaplain, and I just met him, and I told him this. I didn't tell him it was something God shared with me because I don't like to put people in. I'm just telling him, some of the content I'm working on for my book involves blah, 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 blah. That joker looked to the side. I was like, Lord, I'm getting ready to have to argue with this man. He's sitting here with his PhD and
Oh,
I looked over there. It might have been a little water behind them glasses. He said, my first wife was 5 years older than me, and she used to manipulate me. And, she used to say she liked me because I was so mature. But then when we divorced, she said she was leaving me because I didn't know what I wanted in life.
oh,
And
wow.
I was like, he was like, that's exactly it. I was so moral. I was in church and in college, and she just wanted to, be with me and wanted a man that was. I said, yeah, man, that's it. That's it. And so I was like, well, okay, check, check. And I mentioned it to another friend of mine, a vision coach, right? My vision coach. He said, yeah, man, my first wife was 5 years older than me too, and the same thing happened. She was running me ragged, and I said, right, and I said the reality is you couldn't do that to us now because we're more emotionally mature. You couldn't use emotionally charged arguments, issues, my heart, you crying, blah blah, to get your way. It wouldn't happen. You cry, I throw a box of tissues at you. I might not open it. Verna. So,
So
so that's a
that's amazing.
so that's a good kid. But this is important because not all of us in this material have bad boys, right? Most people, the bad boy part of the population is like 5 to 7%. Most of the kids are good kids, and they're still in these scenarios. And our kids are growing up, following our lead, going to church. And how many times? How many times do I raised him in church? I don't know why he blah 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 blah. Because he was emotionally immature. He's got the principles. He's learned it all. A lot of them, when they get older, they'll actually come back to it when the maturity gets there, when the actual emotional. So there becomes a effort now to develop emotional maturity, teaching them what is a feeling and an emotional response to life, to your problems, to your friends, to your parent, to your this. I do it with my own son. Hey man, you can't talk with that tone. You can't even answer me with that tone, because that tone shows that you're aggravated by us calling you. Hey, come here, come here. What? Come here. Let's talk about the
Yeah,
what. Let's talk
yeah,
about the what first.
yes.
Because the tone is going to um, it's going to let you cater to an attitude, and then the attitude is going to let you try out different emotions on me,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're going to hit repercussions, and then you'll get feelings, and
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll develop ideas about me, and you'll start resisting respect and resisting authority, and we can calm all that down by knowing what's
Right.
happening. And so we want to be really catering to the emotional state that's in
Right.
there. And I
Right.
try to do this because we're Christian people, right?
Right.
I've known people bring the boy down here. We gonna pray, blah 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 blah. Man, I believe. Listen, I believe in the power of prayer, but I'm telling you, you have got to address some of these
Do-
issues by understanding them
Right.
and talking out. And some folks are going to end up being disciplined for some things. Some folks are going to end up grounded. Some folks are going to end up. But you address these things and you shape them in a direction. It's not okay to entertain every emotion you come up
No,
with.
it's not.
It's not
It's not.
okay. It's not okay, and it's never okay to charge your disrespect to emotion. You know,
Hmm.
no, sir. You can be as mad as you want. You got no grounds to disrespect anybody worthy of respect.
That's
Just
true.
none. Just none. And
I
working
had
on that stuff.
my not cutting you off. I had to teach my I think my youngest son was just like he must have been the I don't know, but he was that person, that child.
Yeah.
But I had to what I said to both of them when they was younger, because I do understand that children go through things when they're at school and they might not want to talk about it once they get in the car. And so I could be cheerful picking them up when I had to pick them up from school. I mean, I had a great day, and
Absolutely.
I'm saying, "Good evening, how you doing?" And they just get in, slam the door, don't
Right.
say anything, don't even speak. So to uh, to bring that to a close, I simply said to them, "If you had a bad day today, when you get in the car, just say, 'I had a bad day.'" And I
Exactly.
know not to say anything to you, just let you sit back there, think about whatever your mind is on, whatever.
Exactly.
It helped a lot to just say, and I think my youngest son got in one day and said, "I had a bad day today." And he
Yeah.
sat back there and was quiet until he was able to talk about what
Yeah.
happened to him that day.
Yes.
I mean,
That's
boy,
great parenting. That's great parenting. That's huge, though. That's huge. Learning to talk about these painful or trying experiences instead of some kind of acting out to show you that, mom, I had a bad day.
well,
Slamming the
actually,
door.
I share with my youngest son because he's the person I talk to him a lot. I
Yeah.
just to him I said, "You all was textbook kids. I was an education major, so
Yeah.
everything that I learned as a teacher to be a teacher, I just practice on you guys. Your
Yeah.
whole thing was textbooks. What everything that I taught, everything that I taught them was what I learned in my textbooks.
Absolutely.
How to treat your students.
Yes.
So it worked.
Yes.
Just talk to them in a calm voice. Didn't have to put them in the corner for 10 minutes. Didn't have to do a whole lot of spanking and just a
Mm-mm.
calm conversation. Bring it down a notch. I am not your peer. I am not your friend. This is
Yes.
what we're going to do. These are the schedule for your. I mean, the whole thing. I said, actually, I didn't know what to do, but my textbooks from my college days really helped me to bring them up
That's
because,
because people helping shape human behavior is not new. They've been doing it for thousands of years. Julius Caesar got a bunch of people to follow him. Alexander the Great had people. Shaka Zulu had people. People know how to lead people in a direction they want them to go. From church pastors to social leaders, people know how to do it. We
yes,
just have to absorb it into what we used to have the majority of this intrinsic family knowledge already in the family. Now that we have this cycle of divorce interrupting family buildups,
right,
and then many folks having kids and not having a marriage there, it interrupts it passing down generation, and it stops those knowledgeable people from being in that system with it. So as we rebuild families and get all that stuff back, we need a source of that knowledge and warmth to flow back in, because it's like you said, it's not an emergency day by day. Now,
right.
now if you don't do anything, you're gonna have some days that are significantly emergencies. But day by day, it's that, teaching them how to. If we do this, I don't have to wake up one morning with the state patrol calling me, "Hey, we picked up your son. He was driving 150 in your new truck down the, my new truck. My truck's in the garage." No, it's not. You know, so
Yeah,
we
yeah,
don't have
yeah,
to do that. And we want to build for it. We want to build for it because, like we said, there's there's a ton of great loving parents that need some of the clues to help them avoid the pitfalls so that their good kid doesn't have a different ending. Like,
right.
well, I had my kid in this because I've met so many shocked parents. I give him this. I give, and so many in our Christian world will fall back on. And I'm not easy on folks. They try to escape it. They try to escape. Well, you teach them what they want. They choose their own course. Now, there's some truth allowed in that, but there's laws of seed time and harvest if you're trying to be a Christian. There's train
Right.
up a child in the way they should go. When he's old, won't depart from it in being a Christian. There's brainwashing. That's part of it too. I could take you when I worked overseas. They had some folks got captured. They brought the folks out. The people they were just like the folks that had captured them because they brainwashed them. So you telling me you being a loving parent can't teach your child to be good, but I can take soldiers, let them get captured, and the enemy can turn them into enemies. And you're telling me it's just not possible at your home with you and all your love and God, but we can take the devil and his folks and they can do it. No, that can't be true. That can't be true. That can't be
It
true.
should be
You
true.
No, it can't be true. It can't be. We just have to find out, all the different challenges of each generation are attacking us. Our kids get a different challenge than I had.
Right.
Different challenge. The dirty books that my generation used to try to hide under the mattress, try to sneak a peek. They got it on the cell phone, unlimited, unlimited, right? So we have to teach and invest in them in a different way with some sensitivity to what God teaches us, some sensitivity to how society is evolving, um, because we want them the pitfall's still the same, but their access to it has changed. How it'll impact them, what's available in society, it changes. So we have to teach them, hey, to how to have boundaries and walls. That's what the whole thing is. Like you were teaching, I'm teaching. These are your boundaries,
Mhm.
and when you leave here, you actually have to build your own personal boundaries too, and they will keep you what we call safe, but they keep you from going off into things that start deteriorating your whole life. You can go have fun with it for a little time. Yeah, I went to spring break and blah, 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 and people are doing this and doing that. Yeah, you'll have a great spring break story that you think is great. But what it does to you and what it opens you up to can be all types of different devastation. And that starts destroying your whole life. And so
It does.
we're battling against all that, pushing back on all that. We don't let anything get by. Don't let anything get by. We're always on it. My poor son, he walks by and I look at him and go, I know what's going on. He'll look and I go, you ready for a hug from dad? And just hug him, and he'll just start laughing and I hold him. He'll start trying to wrestle, and that's my 10-year-old. I just, and they need all those different little fluctuations of behavior. If I'm going to be the person that has that discipline and direct him, I also better be one of the chief people delivering some love and affection. Because that's a pattern partnered thing. It goes together. If you have to correct somebody, you also better be a cheerleader. When they're doing great, you better have more 90%. You're doing great. 10%. Okay, correct this. Because human beings process like that. You can't be a burden in everybody's life. And so yeah. Uh, but so what I'm targeting right now is all this emotional state, and those are big words, bland, vague. So again, I come back down and say, I work this last piece of work is going to have like a specific goal of helping these young men stop devaluing the future, right? Because if you don't understand the value of the future and your behavior right now, you won't make good choices. You'll make a now choice. Most now choices are feelings, emotional, what feels good, How do I do this? And so, and like I said, we want them. We're building the skills in there, but we also want them to make choices. We want them to be making choices for a better future, and that's how that's how I do my part for getting us there. That's it. That's John Dennis in a nutshell.
That's amazing. That is so awesome, John. I love all your content, everything that you've shared today. It has been amazing. And so, if you don't mind at this time telling our audience how they can connect with you, how they can get your book, how they can call you for interviews. I mean, the whole 9 yards. Just share with us at this time how they can do it.
So I'm resetting my website. You can't usually go. You can usually go to johnpdennis.com. Can't go there right now because I'm resetting things. If you need to get hold of any of the two books that are out there right now, you can go to Amazon and get Men Raised by Women, What He Won't Tell Mom. You can also on Amazon find The Single Mom, Her Son, and The Straw Man. You can stand by and wait on Man Made, the recipe for manhood. If I stay on schedule, will be out by June. Um, you can go to my podcast on Anchor and look up John P. Dennis, and I'm there. You can go to YouTube and Google John P. Dennis, and I'm there. And that was my podcast. There's the Devaluing Future. And what's coming, it's on Twitch right now. You can make notes on this. It's called the MRW, Men Raised by Women, the MRW Guru.
Okay.
And it's on Twitch TV, and you can go on there. And interesting thing about Twitch is you can just become a member on Twitch, and then I'll be able to deliver nonstop content to you. Unlike if I do it on YouTube and all that, it's just a little recorded segment. We can roll nonstop on Twitch. So you can become a member, register, or however they word it on Twitch. And that's the plan, to deliver nonstop content to give somebody fresh insight. Because I do current event stuff, give you some ways to process what you see happening. Because that's parenting, right?
Right.
This is a great broadcast. That was a great book. But I got news for you, Jack. You got 18 years worth of parenting. So I intend to do time with you, to do some journey with you, because that's how we make a difference. Being there for each other and actually girding each other up over time, because today could be your tough day, might be 3 weeks from now. Where was John then? And so this gives me a way to parent my kids effectively, and to be available for others, because I care. I have 4 sons. The top 3 are in their 20s, the last one's 10. So I have to be here too. So I want to be living and doing the things that I'm also delivering. So this allows me to deliver content on a major level, and also be very available for people that I believe in. I was that little boy. I was that little boy. It means something more to me when I see people plug in, because I know what I'm talking about. I know I do. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is how I bless the people that should be able to get some of what I got. Try to give some people what I got. I was blessed. People stepped in. People made a difference. Everybody doesn't have people in the close circle like I did. And so I'm going to try to be there. I'm going to try to do something for others to make that difference. And I believe we can. I can see it. I can see it changing.
Yeah, and I believe you can make a difference, or you are making a difference with all your great materials, your boot camp. All that's going to be amazing. So it's going to be some blessed young men coming your way,
Well, thank
coming
you.
out of your boot camp. Yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, John, we thank you so much for being on OPM Live, and of course, we will have you back.
All
Um,
righty.
so with that, I want to bid you farewell, and we will talk with you on another day.
Thank you, Verna. I can't wait. When I get the other 2 books ready, you'll be first person I call.
Thank you so much. Okay. Have a great one, John.
You
Bye.
too. Bye bye.
We thank Mr. John P. Dennis for his awesome insight in manhood. And we are reading this year from By Still Waters, 365 Devotions to Quiet and Refresh Your Soul by Anita Higman and Marion Leslie. And we're reading today For the Beauty of It. And it reads, when God began creating the heavens and the earth was a shapeless, chaotic mass, with the Spirit of God brooding over the dark vapors. Have you ever created something so excellent, so beautiful, that it made your heart ache with joy, that it made you sigh in your spirit and know there is a God? Perhaps a watercolor painting that captured an orchard of flawlessness, it as if you could reach out and pluck it. It's as if you could reach out and pluck it. Or a strain of music on the cello that sounds so sweetly and methodically, it makes your heart smile. Or an arrangement of words that are so eloquently express your love for someone that your hand naturally comes to reach over your heart. Do you think God felt that emotion when He created the heavens and the earth? All the vast array of splendor and mysterious and breathtaking wonder. Perhaps He did. We are, after all, made in His image, so we could inherit some of the same emotions. Creating is yet one more way to connect one with the one who created all things, including you. Why don't you create something today for the beauty of it, then offer it to the Lord as a gift? It will be one of those by still waters kind of moments you will want to experience over and over and over. It says, Lord, show me what we can create together today. I am excited about all the possibilities. Amen. And thank you for tuning in to OPM Live, which is an extension of Ordinary People magazine. And with that, love, peace, and increase, and be blessed.